Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's Monday morning and the federal government is open for business. We came just hours away from a shutdown this weekend with 209 House Democrats and 125 House Republicans voting to put people over politics. A government shutdown would have been a disaster for the American people. And I'm glad Democrats and reasonable Republicans were able to come together to get a short-term funding package through the House, through the Senate, and onto the President's desk with just hours to spare. This short-term funding package includes an extension of the FAA authorization, funding for flood insurance programs, $16 billion for disaster relief, and most importantly, it'll keep the lights on for the over 6,500 federal employees in North Carolina's 13th district. Looking ahead, this short-term funding package gives us more time to come together, find common ground, and pass bipartisan spending bills for the full year. For Democrats, that means funding for Ukraine. Our support for Ukraine cannot waver. I wish we didn't have to spend any money in Ukraine, but if Vladimir Putin wins, we'll have to spend 1,000 times more trying to contain an aggressive and emboldened Russia around the globe. If we abandon Ukraine, Russia will win. Putin will win. Support for Ukraine is in our national interest, Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, for Republicans, that means securing the border and taking up immigration reform. As a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus and a member of the New Democrat Coalition's Immigration and Border Security Task Force, I remain focused and committed to working across the aisle to secure our border and advance comprehensive immigration reform. I believe that the best path forward is through the bipartisan Keep America Open Act that I've co-sponsored and is being led by the Problem Solvers Caucus. This legislation upholds the top-line numbers agreed to in the bipartisan budget agreement. It includes funding for Ukraine, which is desperately needed. It includes Title 42 reform legislation that I helped introduce with a bipartisan group of members earlier this year that will help secure the southern border while giving us more time to enact meaningful, long-term reforms to our overburdened immigration system. And it includes bipartisan reforms to increase transparency and address long-term spending, an area where I agree with my Republican colleagues. The path to 218 votes on the budget won't come from the far left or the far right. It comes from the center with proposals just like this one. The reality is that we've only got 44 days to get this done, and we're right back where we started over the weekend. We never should have been in this situation in the first place. A short-term CR is a Band-Aid on a long-term problem. That's why I've introduced the bipartisan No Budget, No Pay Act. My bill would withhold members' pay if both houses don't agree to a concurrent budget resolution by April 15th for the fiscal year starting October 1st, or if both houses haven't passed all the regular appropriations bills by September 30th for the fiscal year starting October 1st. Folks, we could have been in a situation right this morning where our entire federal government workforce was getting no pay, but members of Congress still would have been getting their paycheck, and that's wrong. This bill will incentivize Congress to get it done and prevent future government shutdowns. This brinksmanship is no good for our economy. Listen, folks, I came to Congress to get things done, and I'll continue to set aside the noise, find common ground wherever it exists, and deliver for the people of North Carolina's 13th district. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.